Module 7. Sources of Financing, Equity and Debt. In the world of business finance, entrepreneurs like Anna find themselves at a critical juncture when it comes to funding their business ventures. Should Anna dive into her reserves and enlist the help of her neighbor, the savvy investor Ethan, to secure the needed capital? Or should she approach her local bank for a loan? This chapter will illuminate both paths, guiding Anna and fellow entrepreneurs through the nuanced landscape of equity and debt financing. When we talk about equity capital, we're referring to the funds contributed by the business owner as, or investors in exchange for ownership stakes. This money is not a loan. It need not be repaid. Its charm lies in the lack of interest-laden repayments that weigh down many young businesses. The compromise, however, is in shared ownership. For someone like Anna, using equity financing could mean offering Ethan a slice of her business. While this doesn't burden her with debt, it could dilute her authority and decision-making power. A potential disadvantage if the business is still molding its identity. Debt capital, on the other hand, is akin to a monetary loan. It's a sum that must be returned with interest. This path allows Anna to hold on to her autonomy over the business, but it also introduces a recurring financial obligation. The loan becomes a liability on the balance sheet, and the periodic interest payments can be a heavy load for a fledgling company's cash flow. Venturing further into the terrain of equity capital, an entrepreneur can explore several sources. Personal savings often kickstart a business, demonstrating deep personal commitment. Then there are friends and relatives who might invest based on personal relationships and trust. Forming a partnership, as Anna is contemplating with Ethan, could bring additional capital and perhaps complementary skills to the table. Larger-scale endeavors might attract corporate investors or venture capitalists, who can inject substantial sums but at the cost of a stake in the business and possibly a voice in its operations. Lastly, there's the option of going public through a stock offering, a move that can generate significant capital but also comes with regulatory obligations and the unpredictability of public markets. For small businesses, the leap to public status is formidable, involving complex regulatory hurdles. However, simplified registration processes and exemptions are available to make it a more accessible option for smaller ventures looking to raise funds through the sale of securities. Turning to debt capital, traditional loans, credit lines, and business credit cards stand out as primary sources. Financial institutions like banks are the usual suspects here, offering the advantage of keeping control within the hands of the entrepreneur. However, the burden of repayment, often secured against personal assets, can be daunting. Government-backed loans and specialized programs also provide avenues for debt capital, sometimes with more favorable terms than traditional bank loans. These programs are designed to aid small businesses in accessing funds without sacrificing equity, but they come with their own set of requirements and limitations. So, what should Anna do? If she chooses equity financing by partnering with Ethan, she won't have to deal with loan repayments, which can offer some breathing room for cash flow. However, she will have to share her business with Ethan, which could mean less control and shared profits. If Anna opts for debt financing with a bank loan, she keeps full ownership and control over her business. But she also takes on the responsibility of making consistent loan repayments with interest, which can be a significant financial strain. Anna's decision will hinge on her willingness to share control versus her ability to manage debt. It's a balance between the freedom of ownership and the discipline of debt repayment. Both options carry their own set of advantages and risks, and it's up to Anna to decide which aligns best with her vision for her company's future. Choosing the right layout and location. When venturing into the world of business, one of the most pivotal decisions you will face is the selection of a location and layout. This decision is not only about finding a place to operate, but also about establishing a strategic foundation that aligns with your business goals and operations. The process is intricate and layered, involving choosing the right region, state, city, and specific site. For retail and service businesses, the location is paramount. It's the linchpin that connects the business to its customers. When selecting a location, these businesses must consider foot traffic, visibility, accessibility, and the proximity to other complementary or competing businesses. These criteria differ slightly for service businesses, which also need to factor in the convenience for clients, parking facilities, and overall ambiance that aligns with the service offered. Manufacturers, on the other hand, undergo a different site selection process. They need to consider access to raw materials, transportation routes for distribution, labor availability, and costs, along with the suitability of the land or existing structures for the manufacturing process. Manufacturers often prioritize functionality over aesthetics when it comes to layout. Effective layouts for retailers, service businesses, and manufacturers share one common principle. The layout must support the smooth operation of business activities. For retailers, this might mean a layout that maximizes product exposure to consumers. Service businesses need layouts that facilitate a positive customer experience, while manufacturers require layouts that optimize the efficiency of the production process. The layout and design of a building are not just about the operational or aesthetic appeal. They also need to comply with legal requirements, such as the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, which mandates accessibility for individuals with disabilities. This includes considerations like adequate parking, accessible entryways, and interior navigation. In the realm of business sales and transitions, the concept of a restrictive covenant often arises. This is a binding clause where the seller agrees not to open a competing business within a specified time frame and geographic area after the sale. It's a safeguard for the buyer, ensuring that they don't face immediate competition from the seller, who likely has an established customer base and intimate knowledge of the business. However, the enforceability of a restrictive covenant hinges on its reasonableness. It must be negotiated directly with the business owner, not just the corporation, and should be included as part of the business sale agreement. The scope of the covenant, both in duration and geographic area, must be reasonable and not overly restrictive. Let's consider a hypothetical scenario. You're buying a travel agency in a small town, and you request the seller to sign a restrictive covenant for 1 year, covering a 20-square-mile area. Whether this is reasonable or not depends on several factors. If this is the only travel agency in town, imposing such a covenant could potentially create a monopoly, which might be deemed unreasonable. A 1-year duration is often seen as fair, but the 20-square-mile radius could be excessive if the town itself is smaller, or if there's a likelihood of customers coming from neighboring towns. In conclusion, the selection of location and layout is a multifaceted decision that requires thorough analysis and strategic thinking. It's essential to weigh the business type, operational needs, customer accessibility, legal requirements, and future growth prospects. In the case of business sales, restrictive covenants play a crucial role, but they must be approached with a balance of protection for the buyer and fairness for the seller, ensuring that the terms are practical and enforceable. Remember, the right location and layout can set the stage for business success, while a restrictive covenant can protect that success once it's established.